to the Northeast Mississippi Rewind for Week 6 of the high school football season. I'm Brad Locke with the Northeast Mississippi Daily Journal, joined here by Gene Phelps and Brandon Speck, my distinguished panel this evening. Guys, man, we had some good games tonight. Let's go real quick down the ranked teams, who won, who lost in the large school rankings. Number 1, Shannon improved to 6-0. They defeated South Tillow. Number 2, West Point defeated Noxubee County. Number 3, Tupelo defeated number 4, Starkville. We'll get to that in just a moment. Number 5, Lafayette County over Hernando. Small schools, number one, Ripley over Moorville. The Tigers 6-0. Number 2, Okolona falls to Pontotoc. Number 3, Bruce over William Sullivan. Number 4, Baldwin defeats Mantachie. And number 5, East Webster beats Vardaman. The Wolverines now 6-0. Gene, you were out at Tupelo this evening. They took on Starkville in a big Region 1-5A game, and the Golden Wave comes up with a 38-35 win. A lot of drama at the end there. Gene, tell us about it.
Yeah, it was a shootout. Tupelo actually led in this game 17-0 early in the second quarter. It looked like they might put the game away early. Had an opportunity to even go up with another score. But Starkville came back. Tupelo had kind of a sluggish second half until the very end. Starkville drove down, scored with like 5 minutes, 13 seconds left. Tupelo got the ball at zone 18, drove 82 yards in 12 plays, I believe. Scored on a 4th and goal from the 10-yard line on just a little pass play from Chris Garrett, the quarterback, to who else? Chad Bumpus. Caught his 3rd touchdown pass of the night. This one was a 10-yarder right there at the pile line, the front quarter in the end zone. Gave Tupelo a 38-35 victory. Bumpus tonight had 6 catches, 170 yards, 3 touchdowns. Chris Garrett, who had an appendectomy a couple weeks ago and had to miss a game, was 13 of 19 for 235 yards. He completed 3 passes in that final drive. He had 4 touchdown passes tonight. He also had 1 to Justin Bean, along with the 3 to Chad Bumpus. One of those was on the second play of the game, 67 yards on the fade route, and Bumpus went over to the defensive back for Starkville, made the grab, put a move on him, went all the way. About on the next possession, like on the 6th play, he just ran a simple post route, got behind the defenders, and had a 45-yard touchdown catch. You don't guard Chad Bumpus one-on-one. I think teams are learning that real quick. Maybe South Panola can guard him one-on-one, but nobody else can. Nobody that I've seen this season.
Well, that's turned into one of the best quarterback-receiver combos in the area. Garrett to Bumpus. You've heard it a lot this season. So a big win for the Golden Wave. As you said, a big 4th and 10 play with about 1:12 to go, and then the defense held Starkville. So big win for Tupelo. The Golden Wave off to a 5-1 start, their best start in a decade. So good job by the Golden Wave. Some other games to talk about tonight. First, a couple of teams falling from the unbeaten ranks. Tishomingo County finally losing to New Albany, and then Okolona, as I mentioned, a 1A school losing to 4A Pontotoc. Still have Shannon, Ripley, Walnut, and East Webster. I believe those are the only 4 teams left without a loss. That Tishomingo-New Albany game, Tishomingo came in 5-0. New Albany came in needing a win desperately. The Bulldogs have gotten off to a slow start. They got a big 28-24 win tonight, a big night from Jeremy Cannon. We'll get to him in a moment. Brandon, you were out at Nelliton. Amory, another team that needed to win badly. I believe they came into this game 1-4.
1-4.
And the Panthers needed something good to happen, and they got it with a big win tonight. 48-32 over the Tigers.
They haven't won since week 1 against Itawamba, which we all thought that may set them on a pretty good streak. They're beating a tough Itawamba team, but they lost the last 4. And granted, it's a tough schedule, but they were 0-1 in division after a loss to Winona last week, and needed one pretty bad. So did Nelson, who was 0-2 and now dropped to 0-3 in 2-3A play, which is going to be pretty much impossible to be.
This is a team that played for the state championship last year, and now they may not even get in the playoffs.
And look, you got Louisville probably going to win the division. Sure. You got Winona's really strong, has already beaten Aberdeen and Amory
both.
And then you've got now Amory's in the mix, and I believe you're also going to have another school on
Winona.
Winona.
They're
Winona, Aberdeen, Louisville, and Amory now that all the front runners for the playoffs. Puts Nelton in a big hole. But what was it that Amory did particularly well that they hadn't been doing?
Richard McFadden just took the ball and took off. He had 218 yards on 20 carries, which is just absurd. He ran through every hole and every non-hole there was on the field. It's kind of a shame on Nelton's side. Jimmy Bowling was like 21, 26. He had 296 passing. this defense just can't stop anybody.
No.
They can't stop anybody. I think they're averaging 33 points a game, but they're giving up probably 40.
They gave up 44 to Aberdeen last week.
And of course, that's a tough test. McFadden, probably one of the best running quarterbacks in the area. So.
Yes, he's unreal. So Amory got back in the mix, and they did that pretty bad. So Milton all but out of 2-3-8 contention.
Well, I was out at a non-region game. I was at that Pontotoc Oklahoma game. In Oklahoma, man, it just seemed like an interesting matchup to me, and it was. And it certainly turned out to be a close game, which I suspected. Pontotoc with a 7-6 win. The difference, a botched extra point there by the Chieftains, who also missed 3 field goal tries. They got this big nose guard, William Hare, and he must be 300 pounds, but he kicks for him too. Good kicker, good leg. He just had to deal with some tough angles and just barely missed some kicks there. But Oklahoma, no shame in losing that game. A defensive struggle all the way there in Oklahoma. Guys, that's going to bring us to the 5 stars for tonight. I'm going to start with Mr. Richard Freeland, or Freeland, however you want to say it. I think we've had him on here about every week. He had 154 yards tonight, well below his average of 200-something. So an off night for Freeland, I guess. 154 yards and 3 touchdowns. Bruce defeats William Sullivan. Richard McFadden, we just mentioned, 218 yards, 4 TDs, and he also threw for a pair of touchdowns in that win.
Had 2 interceptions
on defense,
well,
2 picks on defense. We mentioned Chris Garrett. He was, 13 for 19 for 235 yards and 4 touchdowns?
4 touchdowns
Good
passing,
job.
and scored 1 rushing.
Well, there you go. Chris Garrett getting it done. Matt Cook of Kossuth ran for 168 yards and 2 touchdowns. A big win for the Aggies against Boonville, 27-20. So that puts Kossuth 3-0 in Region 1-3A. He also had the go-ahead touchdown. And finally, Jeremy Cannon, 24 carries, 310 yards for New Albany in that big 28-24 win over Tishomingo. All that yardage, and he managed only 1 touchdown. But, it was enough. So great job by Jeremy Cannon and all these other stars we mentioned. And that's all the time we got for Northeast Mississippi Rewind. Appreciate you joining us. Join us next week for the Scouting Report next Thursday, and another week of football ahead.